Hello, everybody. So today we are talking about the Arizona right to refuse service law. I just found out about this and found it to be pretty intense. So if you're not familiar with this already, according to the news that I read, they are trying to pass a law in Arizona that will basically allow businesses the right to refuse service to homosexual people. So apparently this is an issue with wedding preparations, for example. Florists not wanting to do a same-sex marriage, catering to them, or just different aspects of the wedding industry, not wanting to cater to same-sex weddings. And there has been some legal issues thus far with businesses not wanting to do these events based on their religious beliefs and then being sued for it. And so Arizona is trying to pass a law that would apparently allow businesses to refuse the right of service. Um, that's pretty intense. So obviously I'm a Christian person, so this interests me a lot because this has to do with uh, how people of that supposedly share my faith are interacting with people that don't share my faith on an issue that's incredibly sensitive right now, which is homosexuality. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of agreement or consensus among anybody about what should be done. Just real quick, the article that I'm reading, just in case you would like to look it up as well, is on the New York Times website. I just Googled Arizona um, right to refuse service law, and the New York Times is the first one that came up, and it has a lot of good information in there. But obviously a very sensitive issue, and there's a lot that's going into it because that's very sensitive. The minute that you tell a business that they can refuse service to somebody based on something like their sexual orientation, that's obviously a very slippery slope for whatever reason, religious or not, that you're trying to make that the case. Um, that's very slippery slope. I mean, that could lead to once you have that benchmark set for being able to do that, it feels like there may be a loss of control in terms of what people are trying to refuse service for. I'm not saying that people could try and leverage that into, uh, you know, racism or something like that, but it certainly sounds like something that, especially given the absurdity of a lot of the legal cases that we see, and what people seem to be willing to go to court for, um, you never know. It could be definitely opening Pandora's box. Uh, Obviously, as a Christian, I can understand the moral dilemma that exists there. Um, I know a lot of my Christian peers, if you want to call them that, would probably be backing or supporting a law like that would allow the right to refuse service to homosexual people. And on a certain level, I can understand that because there's moral and religious beliefs that go into that. But at the same time, I have to ask myself logically, in the long run, would it be detrimental? Because looking at things like um, then people could start discriminating against homosexuals, which I don't condone discrimination against anybody. I think that's a horrible thing to be made uh, to feel like you're less than somebody else or something like that. From a Christian perspective, I think that we are all uh, we're all lacking in so many ways, and we've lost contact, we've lost a connection with the fact that we're all flawed individuals in one way or another. And I'm not trying to sit here and say that homosexual people are fundamentally flawed. What I'm trying to say is that we're all fundamentally flawed. And instead of trying to put ourselves on a pedestal, regardless of what angle we're trying to do that from, religious or otherwise, if instead we could connect to the fact and really take on board that we're all struggling with something, we're all, generally speaking, hurting in some way, or feeling, looked down upon in some way. Um, if we could connect to that fact and start to build a conversation of compassion based on that, I think we'd really see more results than trying to, you know, keep people from getting services or whatever. Now, I'm not a politician. I don't I'm not an extremely educated person in the sphere of law or anything like that. So I can't sit here and give any sort of legal opinion, but just an opinion as a human being and as a person. Um, I don't necessarily think that marginalizing people of different sexual persuasions is a good way to demonstrate Christian values on it. Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, um, I think that by marginalizing people, it creates distance, and it pushes them further away when what we should really be trying to do, and again, this isn't just even from a Christian perspective, this is just from a human being that we all live on the planet Earth. We all have to share our time and our lives with other people. So even just from a very basic human perspective, we should be drawing near to one another and trying to empathize with one another and help each other. At the end of the day, regardless of race, religion, or creed, obviously from my personal religious standpoint, I would prefer that to be in the context of Christianity and my particular beliefs. But I think that we need to find ground that we can all stand on together, and then build dialogue and conversation from there. And Arizona seems like it's kind of a very I don't want to say progressive, because that's not the right word for what I'm trying to say, but it's sort of a hotbed state in terms of how we're relating to one another. I mean, there's the immigration thing, which again I'm not super incredibly well versed in that particular subject either, but it seems like it's a hotbed state in terms of how we're relating to one another. So I recommend don't just read one news article about this and form an opinion. Regardless of who you are, I would encourage you to read a number of sources and educate yourself on the subject. And ultimately, I encourage everybody to think and feel with compassion. We're all human beings. We all have feelings. Nobody wants to be looked down upon or marginalized. That's a horrible feeling. Um, and so look it up, see what you think, leave any comments if you have any, and thank you for watching.